Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. We have a loaded show for you guys coming up in just a second around Russell Wilson and Jefferson. But before we get into all that, help us reach 21,600 subscribers. We only need 75 of you guys to hit that sub button. So if you guys want to help us out and just stay up to date on the latest Vikings news and rumors, just have another go-to Vikings YouTube channel. Help me out. Help me grow this channel, grow this Vikings community, and hit that sub button. Already appreciate everybody who's already hit that sub button so far. 21,000 is crazy. Let's try to hit 22,000. But coming up on today's show, if you guys did not hear, Russell Wilson is being planned to get cut by the Denver Broncos. So we'll be diving into that and just kind of discussing if it makes sense for the Vikings to bring him in. I got some thoughts on that, and I'm probably just out on Russell Wilson, but I'll be breaking that all down. And then Justin Jefferson actually had some interesting quotes on Kirk Cousins, as it sounded like Jefferson would be more than okay, if not, he wants Kirk Cousins to be QB1 next season in Minnesota. But let's just kick it to Jordan Schultz here, as he was breaking down the whole Russell Wilson benching, and I really do think he just did a great job just describing the situation. He said, the Broncos threatened to bench Russell Wilson weeks ago if he didn't remove his injury guarantees. Russell Wilson's benching by the Broncos today is solely financially related and has been in the works for weeks, per multiple sources with direct access to the situation. The Broncos approached Russell Wilson 2 days after their October 29th upset win over the Kansas City Chiefs and told him he would be made inactive for the rest of the season if he did not adjust his contract and defer the injury guarantee trigger date that he has for 2025. And then it carries on to say Wilson has $35 million in injury guarantees for 2025 that will become guaranteed no matter what on the 5th day of 2024 league year in March. The threat, however, shocked him, and the two sides got into a major dispute on how to proceed, which pretty much just led to him being eventually cut by the Denver Broncos. So he'll be benched for the last 2 weeks, and they do plan to bench him once the season does end. So yes, it was financially related, but also his play just hasn't been too good. You're looking at his stats over the last 4 weeks, which kind of led to the benching. 61% completion percentage. Not really making kind of the big wow plays that we saw Russell Wilson make in Seattle, and we all know his famous moon ball down the sidelines that he was so good throwing to, whether it was Doug Baldwin, DK Metcalf, whoever the receiver may be, but he just hasn't been good. I mean, he's got 3 fumbles, total of 7 turnovers, 6 touchdowns, and only throwing for just over 200 yards a game. This is not the same Russell Wilson. He is better than he was last year, no doubt, but this guy is still, in my opinion, just a cooked product, and that's kind of why I'm out on Russell Wilson, because my whole thing is with him, first off, he is not the same guy, and he kind of delivers just an ego to himself, and he kind of has this kind of entourage lifestyle where if his play is not backing up kind of his off the field, I won't really call him antics, but his just overall personality that does rub teammates the wrong way, I just don't think it's worth it. So him as a person and a player, I'm just out on Russell Wilson. I would actually be shocked if a team who is trying to win football games and trying to contend would ever bring him back into their organization. He just kind of has this superstar feel to him, but he doesn't play like a superstar. So teammates definitely do get frustrated with him, and it gets me to this point as well. If you are going to bring back any veteran quarterback, bring back Kirk Cousins. And we'll dive into what Jefferson had to say on him in a second, but my whole thing is if you're going to bring back anybody like a veteran and not draft a guy, why not just bring back Kirk? Because we saw it. I mean, I keep going back to that Jordan Addison streak in the slot, going over the top of Jair Alexander. Vikings are up 24-3. I'm like, man, the Vikings are a hell of a football team. We may go contend for a Super Bowl. So I do think Kirk Cousins is significantly better than Russell Wilson. And also I think the fellas in the locker room would rally behind a guy like Kirk in comparison to Russell Wilson, no doubt. So if I had to bring in Russ, or if I had to say if I would bring in Russell Wilson, I would say hell no. Just bring back number 8, bring back Kirk Cousins. If you do still want to go that veteran or more experienced quarterback route, stick with number 8, stick with Kirk. But maybe you guys disagree with me. Would you sign Russell Wilson? Give me an S for sign or give me a P for pass down in the comment section. I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's video. So YouTube, they're going to throw an ad break your way. Sit back, let it play, scroll down. Let me know your thoughts on if you would sign Russell Wilson, S for sign or P for pass. Coming up next here, Justin Jefferson, man. He really endorsed Kirk Cousins, and he had some cool quotes around QB1. So we'll be diving into that. So just stay tuned. They're coming up here in just a second. But first, I do got to tell you guys about Prize Picks, today's sponsor of today's edition of Vikings Now. And if you guys head to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use promo code CLNS, you're going to get a first deposit match all the way up to $100. I love using Prize Picks. A lot of these primetime games in the NFL have been a little boring as of lately, but anytime I'm using Prize Picks, man, it just makes it a whole lot more entertaining. All you got to do is pick 2 or more players. You're going to choose more or less on some projected stat types and set a lineup and start seeing the cash roll in today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS for first deposit match up to $100. So let's dive into the quotes that Jefferson had around Kirk Cousins over this past week. Just kind of accumulated a bunch of them just to show you guys. But he says, I feel like I really don't have to voice my opinion that much. You can just really look at the stats and look at the play, especially before he went down this year. But I definitely will always give that extra word or two for Kirko. As much as people downgrade him and not want to give him his credit, I'm always the person that will always give him his credit. You love to hear that. Then he followed it up saying, people don't see what goes on in the building, which I think is a great point. I think Kirk is a underrated locker room guy and overall a underrated leader for a bunch of players in the locker room. He says they don't see the relationships that go on, don't see the connection that goes on. Me and Kirk have a great connection. And honestly, why wouldn't Jefferson love Kirk? I mean, Kirk was the quarterback that allowed him to pretty much break every statistical category over the first 3 years of his career, and I do think that's not talked about enough. Like, whenever any, whether it's Fox, CBS, like any big-time media company, where they're putting out, like, top duos or top, like, wide receiver and quarterback duos over the last, 5 years, they rarely mention Kirk and Justin Jefferson. Well, they have one of the best best duos, or they have been one of the best duos over the last couple seasons. I mean, these stats are ridiculous. And obviously that Buffalo catch, I mean, how sweet is this graphic right now? I mean, this is just insane what Jefferson's done. He's got the most yards per game in NFL history for a receiver, 375 catches, over 5,600 yards already in his NFL career with 29 touchdowns, man. I mean, Jefferson's just been fantastic with Kirk. So why wouldn't Jefferson want Kirk back? I mean, he could go put up damn near 2,000 yards with him like he did last year. So I think Jefferson wants him. I want him back. And also this, let's just say you're in the camp and you're like, the Vikings need to go draft a rookie quarterback. We need to get J.J. McCarthy, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, whoever it may be. First-round quarterbacks hit like a 50% success rate. What if you bring one in? They don't work out. And then Jefferson's sitting there where he's like, well, I'm not putting up the numbers I used to. We're not really trying to compete for championships. Why would I stay there? So that would be honestly a massive, massive risk. Obviously, you would move off Kirk, which would be a risk because the grass isn't always greener. But also you had other guys like Jefferson where he would be like, man, what if I just want to go play for Joe Burrow or play for an elite quarterback? I don't want to deal with another rebuild in Minnesota. I mean, we know receivers, they probably got around a 10-year prime. I'm sure Jefferson wants to get a ring. We see how fiery, we see how competitive he is. Even in that game against the Lions, I mean, he's getting up, he's screaming. You can feel the passion, you can feel the want that he has to win ball games. So if you were to bring in a rookie quarterback and that doesn't work out, I could see Jefferson definitely getting frustrated. And I'm not saying he would ask out, but you really do never know. And also gets me to this. The Vikings can be a really good team next year if they are healthy. And that's why I'm in the camp. You got to bring back Kirk Cousins because you got too much just talent on this roster in terms of you got 2 bookend tackles in Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill. You obviously have Justin Jefferson, I think the best playmaker in the National Football League. Hawkinson's back next year healthy. Hopefully Brian Flores stays, and that defense can maybe turn into a top 10 unit. Let's just say you have a top 10 defense. Combine that with Kirk Cousins, Jefferson, Addison in year 2, Hawkinson fully healthy, still have your 2 star tackles. I mean, this Vikings team has a lot of talent. I think they could be definitely pretty solid next season. So I want Kirk Cousins back as a Vikings quarterback next season. But if you guys do too, drop those 8s. Show QB1 some love down in the comments because also, every single time I watch the Vikings this season, man, I just really I miss him. I miss watching him play. I miss seeing his fiery, competitive spirit, getting up, screaming in defenders' faces. I just love seeing that juice out of Kirk. So if you want Kirk Cousins back as the QB1 next year, type those 8s down below. And guys, we are going to be live. If you guys didn't hear the news, I made a short on the channel earlier. Jaren Hall is going to be QB1 for the Minnesota Vikings. So this watch party, Sunday night versus the Packers, maybe the Vikings could catch a little magic, catch a little lightning in the bottle, beat the Packers, beat the Lions, find yourselves in the playoffs, and then go beat the Lions wild card weekend. That would be my dream scenario. Maybe we do it on the back of the Storm and Mormon, Jaren Hall. But make sure you guys are subscribed. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.